Good evening. Welcome to my home and to my third video on the subject of the world history of yoga. This is probably going to be the longest set of videos having to do with one subject. But the world history of yoga is a long and detailed subject. It truly is. It starts out about 8,000 BC to 4,000 BC, somewhere in that time frame, and it runs up to present day. I don't know if I'll bring it up to present day or not. I was thinking earlier I may stop at, the beginning of the 20th century. Everything from the beginning, and my thoughts on that were simply these: everything from the 20th century forward is readily available to anyone that just wants to look it up online. So I think that's where I'll stop, right around the year 1900. And then any research that you need to do, you're welcome to do from that point forward. The last time I was talking about I think I stopped on the subject of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and that was a good place to stop. In future, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, because it is such an important work, and it is so incredibly instrumental in learning the depth and width of yogic knowledge, yoga knowledge, the philosophy of yoga, that it deserves its own episode. It deserves not its own episode, it might be a couple episodes, but it deserves its own video, is what I'm saying. So I'll get back to what we were talking about. At the end of the last video, I mentioned that in this one, the next one, which is this one, that I would be discussing Hatha and Tantra yoga. And I'm going to try to keep this simple, and I'm trying to make it into a video of less than 30 minutes. I'm shooting for 20, but if it goes to 25, 30, so be it. This too is an involved subject, simply because it involves two different portions of yoga, Hatha and Tantra. And I need to go into some depth about each. And in doing so, I will also be doing a comparison between the two and how they are utilized within the world of present-day yoga and in the past days of yoga. So Hatha yoga, we'll start there, is derived from the Sanskrit word ha, which means sun, and tha, which means moon. And they symbolize the balance of opposing forces. It emphasizes the importance of harmonizing the physical and the mental aspects of life. We do this through our postures, our asanas. We do it through our breathing techniques. I won't always use the Sanskrit word. If you're familiar with yoga at all, you already know these words. And again, you're welcome to research all of this on your own. The first significant text to discuss Hatha yoga was the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, written in the 15th century by a very well-known Swami named Svatmarama. The W's are sometimes pronounced as V's. And he said, I'm quoting him here, he said that Hatha yoga is a way to prepare the physical body for the higher practice of Raja Yoga, which is one of the four main categories of yoga. And it is a means to an end, very important here, it is a means to an end, not an end in itself, quote unquote. On the other hand, the second category of this evening, this coupling, is Tantra yoga, which offers a more esoteric and mystical approach to yoga. The term Tantra means to weave or to expand, and it's an indication that it's an indication that it is an integration of the various aspects of life. Involved in there, you might find Kundalini energy, Kundalini theory, Kundalini practice, which I'm going to leave for another day in another video. And so we're moving right along, which is unusual for me, as you well know, is unusual for me, but I am trying to become more focused, and I'm trying to prep with notes. What I have in my hand is notations that I've typed up and printed out so that it will narrow my perimeters when I'm speaking to you. I won't go so far off track as I have in previous videos where I was just simply speaking from memory. So notations are not bad. I understand now why newscasters have them, and folks on daily programs on TV, news and entertainment programs have their notes in front of them. It makes perfect sense. Without them, you really are lacking in guidelines. So this is basically the introduction right there to what we're going to talk about. And so we're embarking on a new journey today. Each one of these videos is like a day trip. If you remember road trips back in college and all that, sort of like a day trip, but done on a video and done by listening to my narratives. By the way, my name is James Exum. My yogic name is Sakshi, S-A-K-S-H-I, which means to witness. It's also the name I have given to my soul, because my soul and I are growing closer every year, as I've mentioned before. And that's one of the goals of yoga, is to get to know yourself, self-realization. Now to the talk of this evening, I'm past my intro now. Hatha and Tantra yoga are two ancient practices that have been influential in the development of yoga as we know it today. Both practices offer unique approaches to achieving physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. And there are several examples of what I just spoke of in literature. In my notes, I actually included some literature references, which I don't think I'm going to go into. I might give you the titles, and these are classical texts on the subject of Hatha yoga. The first one's on the subject of Hatha yoga. The second one is on the subject of Tantra yoga. But I want you to start doing your own research. I've been researching for, like I said, around 52 years. I've built a substantial, you can't see it from here, but back there behind us, I have a substantial library strictly on the subject of yoga, the philosophies of yoga, the peripheral books supporting the philosophy of yoga, adding to it, some of them even in criticism of yoga. It's a wide spectrum. I will give you one quote from one of the books. There was a gentleman in India that literally brought the idea of yoga and its philosophy to the West. He was at the World's Fair in Chicago. I think it was 1893. He traveled. His name was Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda. There's a good man to look up. Very good man. I'll quote him. He said that Hatha yoga is a way to prepare the physical body for the higher practices of Raja yoga, and it is a means to an end and not an end in itself. Well, I've just read my same quote over. Sorry about that. But it doesn't hurt to read things sometimes twice, because you get a second chance to hear them, and perhaps it's a chance for them to sink in. If you will pardon my mistake there, but I am almost 75 years old, so I will make a mistake every once in a while, as does all human beings. After all, we are all humans. So now we're going to move forward again with I'm going to go now into the area of the origins and the philosophy of Hatha Yoga. Some of the practices under Hatha Yoga are the asanas, the postures, the pranayama, the breathing techniques. Now, if I pronounce these words differently than you pronounce them, especially say asanas or pranayamas, remember it's not the pronunciation of the word in the Western world that's so important, because none of us speak Sanskrit fluently. There's only, I think, less than 10,000 people in the world that read and speak Sanskrit. So do the best you can. Choose the pronunciation you're comfortable saying. Your tongue and your brain are joining together to enunciate. But focus on the meaning of the word and the theory behind the word and the qualifications of the word and the characteristics of what the word is, how it operates within your life. That's the important thing. So the primary goals of Hatha Yoga is to achieve physical health and mental well-being. Well, isn't that the goal? To me, that's the goal of living. I want to have good mental health, and so far I've been able to maintain it with the blessings of the Lord. And my physical health, according to my doctor, whom I saw a couple of days ago, he said except for my chronic maladies that will follow me to my grave, all my blood readings and blood pressure and heart rate and so forth, my diabetes is under control. He says I'm in excellent health beyond those chronic problems. I was very happy to hear that, but I worked very hard at it, so I wasn't at maintaining those levels, so I wasn't totally surprised at it. So now that we've skimmed the surface on Hatha Yoga, it would take quite a while to really go into that subject on a deep level, and maybe I'll do it in some future video. But tonight this is like an introduction to Hatha and Tantra Yoga. At least you'll get a little taste of what they're about, and if you're interested, then again, make them part of your yoga lifestyle. Make them part of your reading. Make them part of your habits. There's lots of good knowledge in there, lots of good ideas, lots of good practices. So let's move now to Tantra Yoga, the second part of this talk tonight. And I'm going to give you the oranges. I wonder who that sounds like. I'm going to give you the origin and the philosophy having to do with Tantra Yoga. Now, Tantra Yoga is a bit different than Hatha. Hatha is more physical. And when I say what I'm about to say, don't take it the wrong way, but listen to it as I'm saying it, and then you can make up your mind later once you've done your own exploration into this subject. Tantra Yoga is more of an esoteric and mystical practice. It encompasses a wide range of rituals and techniques. The term Tantra means to weave, to expand, indicating the integration of various aspects of life. It emphasizes the use of rituals, mantras, and meditations to awaken what is a vast subject within itself, quote, Kundalini energy, unquote, and achieve spiritual enlightenment. Again, Kundalini energy and the pursuit of the development to its highest form of Kundalini energy, going up through the chakras. There was a wonderful book on that, written by a gentleman named Avalon. That's his pen name, but just Google Kundalini and Avalon, and you should be able to find the book. It's a very thick book, very detailed, lots of footnotes, some illustrations, and an incredible amount of Sanskrit in that book. He used English Sanskrit wordage. The book is called The Serpent Rises or something like that. Again, I'm not here to promote anybody else's book. I'm not even here to promote my own book, which most of this is taken from. Most of these notes are taken from my own book that I finished last year, still in revisions, and will go public as soon as I'm done with it. I'm not going to give a date because it's one of the most detailed and inclusive books on the subject of yoga that has come on the market in recent years. It is not a lightweight, it is a scholarly text. If you look at my earlier videos, you will actually see the book displayed, the one that I handmade that has the original text in it. You will also hear further discussions on the subject of that book. It's called Atman and the Soul of Yoga. It is not on the market yet and may never go on the market. I don't know, but at least I'm expounding on segments of that book through these videos. So you're gaining some of the knowledge I wrote about. Also, under the practice of Tantra Yoga, you have mantras and yantras, the use of sacred sounds, mantras, and the geometric designs, yantras. A lot of people, I've noticed nowadays, like to hand color in those yantras. They even have little books now that you can, they're copied, have facsimiles of them in there, and some people, adults and children, like to put in their own colors. Okay. And both of those are common in Tantra Yoga. And both of those tools are believed to have powerful vibrational energies that aid in whoever's dealing with them, spiritual transformation. Yoga is a spiritual transformation if followed from alpha to omega. You start off as a novice, as a student, and you end up as, if everything works right and your intensity is there and your beliefs are strong, you end up as a master. I wouldn't say I have my master's in yoga yet, but I am a self-proclaimed yogi. No one gave me that title, no swami, no other yogi, no guru. I gave it to myself because I thought to myself, well, heck, I'll go ahead and say the real word. I said, hell. After 50 years of all this intense study and the books you've written and the papers you've written on it and all the comparative data that you've collected and analyzed and worked through, if anyone deserves the name of yogi, which just simply means a student of yoga and someone that goes a little bit further and sometimes expounds on it, either publicly or privately. I expound on it privately. And that's all a yogi is. He's not the big kahuna, as they used to say back in the 80s, which is a Hawaiian term. He's just a man that's not proud of what he's accomplished, but is deserving of the title yogi. So, like I said, the Tantra yoga enthusiasts, followers, are trying to connect themselves with the divine and achieve a state of unity. And that's a marvelous state to go for. It's a goal to shoot for. The ultimate goal of Tantra Yoga is to achieve spiritual enlightenment and union with the divine. Well, that's the ultimate goal to most of the different titled methods of yoga, segments of yoga, schools of yoga. The key differences now, well, I said I would mention not only the likes, but the differences between these, and here we are. I've laid them out, and let's see what I wrote down, and this was written a while back, so I'm refreshing my memory as I go through, and informing you of what I wrote as I proceed here. Hatha Yoga is more focused on the physical postures, well, I mentioned that, and breath control, while Tantra Yogas emphasize spiritual rituals and the awakening of the Kundalini energy. Again, there's that word, Kundalini. Now, when you get into Kundalini and the energy of Kundalini and the chakras and that deep, deep philosophy, some people get lost in there. I've known people get lost in there that have never resurfaced. So enter that portal with care and a lot of forethought. I'm not saying you shouldn't go there. I'm just saying prepare yourself for a deep, deep subject that will perhaps act on your mind, your psyche, your body for months, if not years to come. So be prepared. So the approach, Hatha Yogi takes more than a systematic discipline approach to physical and mental well-being, whereas Tantra Yoga is more mystical and involves a broader range of practices. Both of those are true. The goals in this comparison, the primary goal of Hatha Yoga is to prepare the body and mind for higher spiritual practices, as mentioned, while Tantra Yoga aims for spiritual enlightenment and union with the divine. Well, there's another redundant paragraph that I should have not repeated, but it's done, and maybe it'll help sink in the second time. So here's some of the similarities between the two, between Hatha and Tantra Yoga. Both of them have a holistic approach to well-being and addressing the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of the practitioner. And this is true. They aim to create a balanced and harmonious life. Nothing wrong with that, either path that you choose or both paths you choose. Remember, in yoga, you can integrate as many different types of yoga as you wish. There's an old saying, all roads lead to Rome. Well, in yoga, I'm going to make up a new saying. All paths, no matter how peculiar or how mystical or how practical, they all lead if you practice them long enough and believe long enough and put in the work, and put in the physical and the mental effort, and you live long enough. That's part of it. It's deep, it's wide. That river is deep and wide. Then you should, as I have flirted with it, you should reach enlightenment. Now, anyone that tells you, I say this occasionally, anyone that tells you that they are enlightened, they're probably not. I won't say they're not, but they're probably not. Because once you become enlightened, from what I know and read and understand from the history of yoga, that's not something you would walk around talking about. It's like when you're wealthy, you don't walk around. A really wealthy man or woman does not, or child does not walk around saying, I'm wealthy. They have nothing to prove. But an upstart, a would-be, a wannabe, once they get a few thousand, they'll flash it on the internet or they'll flash it from their friends. And they will just come out and say, hey, I'm rich. Well, I'm rich in knowledge, as you will learn that through these videos, which I intend to make 50 of these by my next birthday. This is number 7. I just started less than 3 weeks ago, so I'm already up to number 7. So I'm on my path, I'm on the way to do what I want. My goal is to create 50 of these instructive videos on the subject of yoga philosophy, which I'm a yogic philosopher. I'm a yogic philosopher, studying the history of philosophy of yoga and occasionally making a video like this to spread my knowledge base out into the world to help others climb up the ladder of yogic knowledge to achieve their goals down the road. So the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of the practitioner, they aim to create a balanced life. Well, I can truthfully say I have a balanced life. My little home, humble as it is neat, it's clean. I have routines I go through every day. I do artwork. That's one of my pieces right back there. That's one of my pencil studies of Vincent van Gogh. The artwork over my head on that wall back there is one of my acrylic paintings of a Hopi god called Kokopelli. So between my art and my research and my writing and now my video taping, I have a well-balanced and happy life, very happy life compared to my neighbors. I have a lot of neighbors here. A lot of them are not happy. I'm not here to save the world. I'm here to inform as many people as possible what I've learned and share it with them. I consider it my gift to the world, but I'm not looking for reward from that gift. I practice what's called karma yoga. There's 4 major categories in yoga. There's karma yoga, there's raja yoga, there's bhakti yoga, and there's jnana yoga. That will be a video in the future. So excuse me, I will not be going there tonight. I'm just putting this out there so you know there's a wide range of ideas and philosophies of yoga that you need to understand and research and follow on your own. Choose the ones you find no conflict with. Choose the ones you find to be logical. These will be well suited for you as they are for me. I chose only the ones that were logical in my mind. I saw no conflict with any of its principles, and I chose the ones that fit my personality. And jnana yoga and karma yoga, those two blended together work for me best of all. Again, you can research these. The use of mantras and meditation are all part of the similarities between Hatha and Tantra yoga. I could go into all of that, but I'm not going to because I'm trying to stay under 30 minutes. And looks like I've got about 4 minutes to do that, and I think I'm gonna hit my goal tonight. So we'll just cruise right on through here. One of the things both of these yogas will eventually give you, and you're seeking it, you may not know you're seeking it, is spiritual growth. Ultimately, both Hatha and Tantra yogas aim for spiritual growth through self-realization. They provide different paths to achieve a higher state of consciousness and a deeper connection with the self, yourself, and the universe. These similarities highlight the interconnectedness of Hatha and Tantra yoga, despite their unique approaches and their unique techniques in approaching it. The Upanishads, which was part of this history that I spoke of last time in my last video, which followed the Vedas, which I spoke of. Again, that video is out there for you to look at if you wish or not, or you can just play catch up and come here and then do a lot of research to catch up with what I'm saying tonight. And there are quotes from those Upanishads. One of the major ones is called the Brihadra Rani Akha Upanishad. That's my pronunciation. And it says, you are what your deep driving desire is. You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is so is your will. As your will is so is your deed. As your deed is so is your destiny. And that comes from that Upanishad, the 4th chapter, the 4th and 5th sutras. The 4th chapter, Sutra 4 and 5. Sutras are like the lines, like the verses. Okay? There's one from the Isha Upanishad on the same subject. He who sees all beings in himself and his self in all beings, he never suffers, because when he sees all creatures when in his true self, then jealousy, that green-eyed monster, as Shakespeare called it, that doth feed on itself, jealousy, and it does. Then jealousy, grief, and hatred vanish. That's the Isha Upanishad. I don't have a chapter and verse, but if you just Google it, it'll take you right to it. And then under the Hatha Upanishad, which I mentioned in my last video also, it says the knowing self is not born. It does not die. It has not sprung from anything. Nothing has sprung from it. Birthless, eternal, everlasting, and ancient. It is not killed when the body is killed. The knowing self that's being mentioned in this quote is the Atman. The Atman is a spark of the divine on loan to your body from the Creator. It is your soul. It is that voice that speaks to you quietly, and only you can hear it, that says, don't do that. Or, boy, did you do a great job. It's the voice of wisdom. It's the voice of discretion. It's the voice, the teaching voice. It is your soul. And when I said I have gotten close to my soul through the years earlier, I have. I listened to that voice. I ignored it as a child because I didn't know what the hell it was. But once I got into yoga and started seeing the truth in most of these writings, not all, but most of these writings, I said, oh, there's a key to the puzzle. There's a major piece of the puzzle that helps me see the entire picture. There it is. Now in the Amrita Bindu Upanishad, it says, it is indeed the mind that is the cause of men's bondage and liberation. If your mind wants to keep you in bondage, if it loves earthly things, earthly pleasures, the world of the earth and all of its transient ingredients, then the mind will bind you to this lifestyle, this world. The mind that is attached to sense objects leads to bondage. Well, those things I described are sense objects. While disassociation from those sense objects, it tends to lead to its liberation. It leads to moksha. Moksha is the liberation. Liberation. Getting away from the body and moving more towards the soul while you're alive. Taking allegiance under the banner of the soul as opposed to the corpus, the body, the gross portion of what you are. Then we go down to the Adi Upanishad. It says, dissolve the self in the Supreme Self, as the pot space is dissolved into infinite space. What they're talking about there, pot space, they're talking about the air that is inside of a pot. If that pot is smashed, where does that air inside of it go? Well, it dissolves into infinite space. It goes back into the cosmos. Then as the infinite, be silent forever. O sage, that means the infinite is silent forever. We came from the infinite, and as souls, we never die. We cannot be burned, stabbed, murdered. Nothing can happen to the soul. It is formless, it is divine, and it is infinite. It was neither born nor shall it die. It's merely, when it's in the body in the form of the Atman, it is simply here. The highest form of the soul is the Para Atman, which is the Creator, which is Brahman. Now I'm going into a deep lecture. Sorry about that. But these quotes I just read to you provide profound insight into the philosophy and teachings of the Upanishads, the ancient Vedic text, and they are fundamental to the philosophy and spiritual underpinnings of, let me turn my page here, various yoga practices, including Hatha and Tantra yoga. Well, it looks like I've gone over 30 minutes and didn't mean to do it. So I think that's enough for today. Next time we will go into a new subject. It is unannounced at this time, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to go there. I'll think of one in between. I know what it'll be. It will be continuing on from the Hatha and the Tantra further in time, on the time scale, up to 1900. So we're leaving it here, and we'll pick up with the next steps as the future draws near. And as always, I am James Exum Sakshi, the witness. And I want to close with these words. This is becoming a habit with me to close with these words. So seem to be good words. So I'm going to use them once again. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. And pass these words along to friends and family. And perhaps in 10 years from now, we'll all wake up and say, gosh, what a different world it's become. Goodbye to you, my friends. Enjoy yourselves. Goodbye.